85% of people experience low self-esteem at some point in their lives, often driven by negative self-talk. This is not just a number. It is a profound reflection of how the mind can become both our greatest ally and our most formidable enemy. In Buddhism, the mind is likened to a garden. If we do not tend to it with care, weeds of doubt and suffering will take root. Today we explore how to uproot these tendencies, transform negative thinking, and cultivate inner peace. Negative thoughts are not simply passing whispers in the mind. They shape our perception of reality. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from external circumstances, but from our attachments and aversions, the way we interpret and react to the world around us. If we allow negative thoughts to dominate our consciousness, they dictate our emotions, behaviors, and ultimately our lives. This is why training the mind is essential on the path to liberation. Just as a warrior masters his sword, we must master our thoughts, cutting through delusions and illusions. Buddhist teachings provide profound insights into the nature of the mind. The Buddha emphasized that thoughts are impermanent. They arise and pass away like waves in the ocean. However, when we identify with them, we become ensnared in suffering. Mindfulness teaches us to observe thoughts without attachment, seeing them for what they truly are, fleeting, insubstantial, and subject to change. This practice allows us to create space between our awareness and our habitual patterns of negativity. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a vast sky, and your thoughts are like clouds passing through it. Some clouds are dark and heavy, filled with self-doubt, fear, and judgment. Others are light and fleeting, barely noticeable. The sky itself remains unchanged, untouched by these passing formations. Similarly, your true nature is vast, open, and boundless. It is not defined by the temporary weather of the mind. By cultivating this awareness, you begin to detach from the grip of negativity and return to the clarity of the present moment. The Buddha taught that we suffer not because of events themselves, but because of our interpretation of them. If we approach life through the lens of fear and self-doubt, we create suffering. But if we shift our perception, we reclaim our inner peace. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. The understanding that we have the power to free ourselves by changing how we see reality. Psychology also supports this perspective. Much of our negative thinking arises from unconscious conditioning, beliefs formed early in life through experiences, authority figures, and societal influences. The Buddha called this samskara, the mental impressions that shape our karma and habitual reactions. Unless we bring these patterns into awareness, they continue to shape our actions without our conscious understanding. Through meditation and self-inquiry, we begin to reveal these hidden influences, freeing ourselves from their control. Negative thinking can act like an anchor, keeping us stuck in self-imposed limitations. Imagine rowing a boat with all your strength but being unaware that you are tied to the shore. No matter how much effort you exert, you will not move forward. This is how unchecked negative thoughts operate. They create invisible barriers that prevent us from realizing our full potential. The Buddha likened this to grasping a hot coal, believing it would harm someone else when in reality, we only burn ourselves. The first step in freeing ourselves is recognizing that we hold the power to let go. We live in a world filled with messages that tell us we are not enough, not successful enough, not intelligent enough, not attractive enough. These messages create a fertile ground for self-doubt to grow. But just as a gardener uproots weeds to allow flowers to bloom, we must clear the mind of harmful conditioning. Buddhist practice teaches us to replace unwholesome thoughts with wholesome ones. Instead of, "I am not good enough," we cultivate, "I have within me the seed of awakening." Instead of, I am a failure, we affirm, I am on a path of learning and growth. Addressing negative thinking is not about suppressing or ignoring difficult emotions. The Buddha taught that denial only deepens suffering. Instead, we turn toward our thoughts with curiosity and compassion. We ask, is this thought true? Is it beneficial? Does it lead to peace or to suffering? By examining our thinking through this lens, we develop the ability to let go of what no longer serves us. The roots of negative thinking run deep, nourished by personal history, past failures, and societal expectations. From childhood, we may have been exposed to environments that reinforced self-doubt. A child who is repeatedly told they are not smart enough, or who is measured only by their achievements, may internalize these judgments as truth. The Buddha spoke of the power of habitual tendencies, how repeated thoughts become ingrained in the mind like grooves in a riverbed, guiding the flow of our future experiences. If negative thoughts become habitual, they shape our perception of ourselves and the world. When we experience failure, we may hear a voice in our mind whispering, I knew I couldn't do it. This voice does not speak truth, it speaks conditioning. Yet, if we do not challenge it, it becomes our reality. The Buddha's teachings offer a profound antidote: awareness. By bringing mindfulness to our thoughts, we disrupt the cycle of negativity and create space for a new narrative, one based on wisdom and compassion. Fear is one of the greatest fuels of negative thinking. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. Each of these can spiral into catastrophic thinking, where the mind exaggerates worst-case scenarios. Buddhist practice offers a method to counteract this: contemplation of impermanence. By visualizing the impermanence of all things, including our fears, we lessen their hold over us. The Buddha taught that clinging to what is fleeting leads to suffering, but embracing change with wisdom leads to liberation. Society often fosters comparison and scarcity, leading us to measure our worth by external standards. The Buddha taught that true contentment arises not from acquiring more, but from appreciating what is already present. Instead of chasing validation, we turn inward and cultivate the qualities that lead to true fulfillment: kindness, mindfulness, and equanimity. By measuring success through our inner transformation rather than external approval, we break free from the cycle of negative comparison. The path to freeing ourselves from negative thinking is both a journey of unlearning and a process of conscious cultivation. Just as a sculptor carves away what is unnecessary to reveal the beauty within, we refine our thoughts, letting go of the illusions that keep us bound. Through meditation, mindfulness, and compassionate inquiry, we transform the mind from a battleground of self-judgment into a sanctuary of peace. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The Buddha said, with our thoughts, we make the world. When we change our thoughts, we change our lives. Each moment offers a new opportunity to awaken, to shift from suffering to clarity, from doubt to confidence, from fear to wisdom. Choose your thoughts with care, for they are the seeds from which your future will grow. Unraveling negative thought patterns is not just about eliminating them. It is about understanding their roots, so they no longer have power over us. When we deeply comprehend the nature of our thoughts, we are no longer bound by them. Instead, we can reconstruct our mental framework in a way that fosters wisdom, resilience, and inner peace. In Buddhism, this is known as right thought, the ability to cultivate a mind that supports rather than sabotages our journey. When we speak of renewing the mind, we are not simply advocating for a momentary shift in thinking. This is about a deep and lasting transformation. It is about shifting from a mind that clings to suffering to one that embraces liberation. The Buddha taught us that our thoughts shape our reality. If we nourish thoughts of fear, anger, or doubt, we create a world filled with suffering. But if we cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, our reality transforms. A central teaching of Buddhism is that suffering arises from our attachment to impermanent things, including our judgments and emotions. These judgments are within our control to change. The Buddha himself emphasized, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." This reminds us that the path to inner renewal begins with mastering our thoughts, recognizing their impermanence, and aligning them with our highest aspirations. To understand ourselves is the beginning of true wisdom. Self-inquiry allows us to dive deeply into the nature of our thoughts, distinguishing those that serve us from those that cause harm. When we become more aware of our mental patterns, we can begin to challenge the negative stories we have told ourselves for years. This does not mean rejecting our emotions, but rather meeting them with clarity and compassion so that they do not control us. Resistance only strengthens what we struggle against. Instead of pushing away negative thoughts, Buddhist teachings encourage us to observe them without attachment. By bringing awareness to these thoughts, we remove their power over us. This process is much like meditation, where we notice the mind wandering but gently return to the present moment. In doing so, we break free from habitual negativity. Renewing the mind also involves surrounding ourselves with wisdom. Just as the Buddha encouraged his followers to seek out noble friendships, we too should engage with people, ideas, and practices that elevate our understanding. Reading teachings that inspire us, immersing ourselves in the art that uplifts, or sitting in silent meditation, all of these nourish the mind and replace old, unhelpful narratives with clarity and insight. A well-known Buddhist principle is that of the examined life. Just as we clean our homes regularly, we must also cleanse our minds, removing thoughts of resentment, greed, and attachment so that wisdom and compassion can take root. This is an ongoing practice, not a one-time effort. The mind, like a garden, must be tended to daily. The Buddha spoke of the importance of aligning our thoughts with higher virtues such as compassion, patience, and mindfulness. When we cultivate these qualities, we shape a version of ourselves that is wise, kind, and free from unnecessary suffering. We do not seek perfection, but rather continuous growth, moment by moment, thought by thought. A practical way to begin this transformation is by setting an intention each morning. Just as meditation centers the mind, a simple affirmation can set the tone for the day. Whether it is a reminder of impermanence, a commitment to practice patience, or an intention to respond with kindness, these small acts accumulate over time, shaping the mind and leading us toward inner peace. The people we surround ourselves with deeply influence our mental and emotional well-being. The Buddha taught that wise and virtuous friends are one of the greatest blessings in life. Just as we would not plant flowers in toxic soil, we should not immerse ourselves in environments that nourish negativity. Choosing relationships that uplift us and encourage our growth is an essential part of cultivating a peaceful mind. True friendships are based on mutual respect and the desire for each person to grow. These relationships do not feed the ego but rather support the heart in its journey toward wisdom. They reflect the highest ideals of kindness and sincerity, allowing us to become better versions of ourselves. Surrounding ourselves with such people is not just beneficial, it is transformative. The environment we live in shapes our perception of reality. If we only see the shadows of doubt and fear, we may believe that is all there is. But when we step outside of these limitations, exposing ourselves to new wisdom and experiences, we see that our understanding was once narrow. Expanding our perspective, engaging with positive influences, and breaking free from past conditioning all allow us to experience life with greater clarity. By carefully choosing the environments we immerse ourselves in, we shift our entire perception of self and the world. This is not about seeking artificial happiness, but rather creating conditions that support deep contentment. Engaging in meaningful conversations, consuming knowledge that expands our wisdom, and participating in communities rooted in sincerity are ways to surround ourselves with positivity. Positivity is not simply about being around cheerful people. It is about immersing ourselves in a life that reflects our highest aspirations. It means being intentional with what we consume, choosing books, films, and conversations that inspire rather than instill fear or self-doubt. Even the spaces we live and work in should reflect a sense of order and mindfulness, as outer harmony often mirrors inner clarity. The Buddha advised his followers to cultivate enthusiasm and determination on the path to wisdom. When we surround ourselves with positive influences, we naturally maintain the enthusiasm needed to walk this path. This does not only benefit us, it benefits everyone we come into contact with. A peaceful mind creates a ripple effect, influencing the lives of those around us. Understanding alone is not enough. Action is essential. The Buddha often emphasized that wisdom must be lived, not just studied. He taught that transformation comes not from theory, but from practice. If we wish to be more mindful, we must practice mindfulness. If we wish to be compassionate, we must actively cultivate compassion. Each small act reinforces our highest intentions. The mind is trained through action. If we want to be free from fear, we must take steps toward courage. If we want to develop patience, we must practice it even when it is difficult. Just as a musician must practice their instrument daily to master it, we must engage in deliberate action to refine our thoughts and behaviors. Virtue is not merely an idea, it is a lived experience. If we wish to embody wisdom, we must engage with life in a way that reflects it. This means responding to challenges with patience, treating others with kindness, and seeking truth over comfort. Every action we take shapes the person we become. The journey to a renewed mind is one of conscious effort and intention. With each mindful breath, each compassionate act, and each wise decision, we reshape our reality. The Buddha taught that liberation is found not outside of us, but within the mind itself. By transforming our thoughts, we transform our lives. Remember, suffering is not in the events of life, but in our attachment to them. When we learn to let go, to see reality clearly, and to cultivate thoughts rooted in wisdom, we find true freedom. This is the path to awakening. This is the path to peace. Through the teachings of the Buddha, we come to understand that wisdom is not merely an abstract pursuit, but a way of living. True understanding leads naturally to the right action. Just as a lotus rises above the murky waters to bloom in purity, our actions, when aligned with wisdom, elevate us beyond suffering. The journey to self-realization is not one of idle contemplation but of engaged practice, walking the path of mindfulness, compassion, and right effort. The process of self-awakening does not occur in isolation but through our interactions with the world. It is in the face of challenges that we are given the opportunity to grow. The Buddha taught that we are not defined by our words alone but by our deeds. Our true nature is revealed not in what we claim we will do, but in the choices we make each moment. Thus, overcoming negative thinking is not only about controlling the mind but about embodying wisdom in our daily lives. Right action is the foundation of the path. Every decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to deepen our understanding and practice. Whether it is choosing patience in a moment of anger, responding with kindness to those who cause harm, or facing our fears with courage, each act shapes the person we become. These actions are the true measure of our spiritual progress. Challenges are not obstacles to our growth, they are the path itself. Instead of avoiding difficulty, we must embrace it as the fire that refines us. Every hardship presents a chance to cultivate patience, resilience, and equanimity. The Buddha compared the mind to a field. When properly cultivated, it yields a harvest of wisdom and peace. This cultivation happens not in comfort but in the moments when we are tested. Practicing the right action can be as simple as setting intentions each morning, engaging in acts of generosity, or maintaining mindfulness in daily activities. Meditation, reflection, and service to others are not just practices but the very essence of a life rooted in wisdom. Through these disciplines, we do not merely suppress negativity, we transform it, allowing insight and compassion to flourish in its place. The Buddha emphasized that not only our actions but also our words shape our reality. Words have the power to heal or to harm, to uplift or to destroy. Before we speak, we must ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it beneficial? In doing so, we align our speech with the right intention, ensuring that our words serve as a bridge to understanding rather than a source of division. Speaking with mindfulness means more than just avoiding harmful speech. It means using words as a force for good. The Buddha taught that skillful speech should be infused with honesty, patience, and loving kindness. Whether we are offering guidance, engaging in debate, or simply sharing a thought, we must do so with awareness and responsibility. The way we speak to ourselves is just as important as how we speak to others. The inner dialogue we cultivate shapes our perception of the world. When we fill our minds with thoughts of doubt, fear, or self-judgment, we reinforce suffering. But when we nurture thoughts of strength, compassion, and perseverance, we cultivate inner peace. The Buddha taught us that what we frequently think about, we become. By choosing our words with care, both outwardly and inwardly, we transform our consciousness. Words are not passive. They shape the way we see and experience life. Every phrase we repeat, every story we tell ourselves, reinforces a particular way of being. This is why the Buddha encouraged the use of mantras and affirmations, not to create illusions, but to align the mind with truth. Affirming our ability to remain calm in adversity, to meet difficulties with wisdom, and to cultivate patience is not self-deception. It is training the mind in the right thought. The power of words extends beyond personal transformation. They influence the world around us. When we choose speeches that are thoughtful and uplifting, we inspire others. When we engage in conversations that encourage wisdom rather than ignorance, we become a source of light for those who are struggling. Every word we utter sends ripples into the world, shaping the collective consciousness. This journey of self-mastery is not just about personal growth. It is about creating a world rooted in wisdom and compassion. Each thought we choose, each word we speak, and each action we take is a step toward that vision. As we walk this path, may we remember that transformation does not happen through wishful thinking but through mindful practice. Thank you for joining this exploration of Buddhist wisdom. May you walk forward with awareness, using each challenge as an opportunity to grow. If you found value in this discussion, continue your journey with us. May your path be filled with clarity, strength, and peace.